Hey everybody, before I get started, I just want to mention a couple of ways that you can engage with me on a more personal level. I have a few avenues set up and I keep focusing on one, and I figured, why don't I make a short little video talking about all of them real quick before we get into these episodes. So first thing, Patreon. There's a link in the episode description, in every episode description, to the Patreon, as well as a video on the feed called Major Announcement that has all the details of what each tier offers and how much they cost. I implore you to check that out. I offer a lot of cool shit for my patrons. Second thing, the Discord channel. There's also a Discord link in the episode description and in every episode description. I have multiple channels set up there for each show that I'm covering, and it's a great way to just engage with me. I have a channel set up for MMA talk as well. I'm a big MMA fan, so if you're an MMA fan, you can check that out as well. There's a link to the Discord in the episode description. And then lastly, the Facebook and Twitter. Social media. Follow me on there. I post news on there. When I say news, I mean like, hey, I'm stopping covering this show. Hey, I'm starting covering this show. Let me know what you think about this. I do live watches of things on Facebook where like I'll check in and say, I'm watching so-and-so show. And then I'll like live comment while I'm watching it. And that'll be cool if maybe you watch that show too and you want to watch along with me, or you're watching it later and you will see my thoughts, which are usually pretty entertaining because I'm usually pretty high when I'm writing them. So check out all those links in each episode description, and let's talk about this episode. Peace.
One mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, and today I'm here to talk about episodes 3 and 4 of the HBO Max series, limited series, Full Circle. These two episodes, episode 3 is titled Jared's Body, and episode 4 is titled Safe in the Circle. So, unlike the show itself, neither of these titles requires much analysis or thought. Episode 3, Jared's Body, ends with Aked realizing that they never actually buried Jared's body, which at the time was a sticking point for me. I'm like, no one's gonna notice that there's a fucking acupuncture dummy being put in this hole, and then like they get away with it. I'm just like, what the fuck? So I'm glad that that came back around and that Aked figured that out. And then Mahabir says the episode 4 title in the episode itself. She tells Aked after he finds Natalia and Louis that he can return and be safe in the circle, with the circle being, as you guys know, the literal sense, I think, we look at the circle as in like the circle was drawn in chalk and all that kind of stuff, and that has a very literal meaning to Mahabir and the Guyanese people, but then also, of course, there's the figurative, metaphorical kind of idea of a circle, like your group of people that is close to you. So, pretty self-explanatory titles for a unnecessarily convoluted show. So this show, I was kind of not sure what I was getting in episodes 1 and 2. I felt like they spent most of those episodes kind of like setting the table so we would know the events that took place, and they were just gonna like, unspool all of the answers and whatnot over the next 4 episodes. But after the first 2, I'm kind of like, okay, this show clearly is one that is prioritizing being confusing, but then also like I don't know if it's I don't know what kind of story I'm gonna have or where this is going. I just know that they're setting the stage for something where there's gonna be a whole lot of moving parts that are gonna come together later. And now after watching episodes 3 and 4, and I believe there's only 6, meaning we only got 2 more left, like this is gonna sound negative, and it to a degree it is, but this show almost kind of feels like it was like a writing exercise for a college course where they're like, put as many moving parts as possible into a story and then have all of them converge and connect. Like it felt like it was a challenge to do that. Like they gave the class that assignment and somebody came back with this. And the teacher was like, fuck, this should be a Soderbergh movie. But I do think it's doing a really good job of accomplishing that goal. It's just that it feels like in order to counter all the effort that's put into making this story as convoluted as possible, that everything else and the things that someone like me in particular is going to care about is being given less attention. So, for example, the idea that Sam, who is played by Claire Danes, and Derek, played by Timothy Oliphant, the idea they have such big secrets between one another, that's intriguing to me. And I like to see like the unfolding of these secrets and how it impacts their marriage. Kind of like a Fleischman in Trouble, but with like immigrants and kidnappings, which, I mean, she was in that. So like, I'd like to see that, but instead we only kind of sort of touch on that stuff, and it's only really meant to serve as clues to help us unlock the mystery of what is everyone hiding. It's not like a look at like, oh, how is this impacting their marriage, or how is it impacting them individually. It looks at that, but like I kind of wish we got a little bit more of that. But it seems like, again, so much attention is being put on just juggling all of these moving parts. So when you have so many simultaneous things going on, all of which are getting minimal attention in the interest of slowly unspooling how everything's connected, I just kind of feel robbed of getting a more compelling story. Like it feels like the convoluted nature is like a gimmick, and that's the focus, and I don't like that. Like, yeah, sure, it's cool how you can have all these moving parts going at the same time and successfully pull this off and have them come full circle. Super cool, but I gotta spend the entirety of every episode trying to follow what's happening as pieces of the mystery are slowly released, when I'm much more interested in the aforementioned stuff with Derek and Sam, or Harmony's psych eval and what her past was like, and what has led her to have the relationship that she has with Jim Gaffigan's character, whose name escapes me. I like to learn about the relationship between Jeff and his brother, and of course that stuff can be talked about in the final 2 episodes as well. But I just feel like we're getting shortchanged on the stuff that is intriguing to me, like that stuff, in favor of accomplishing this writing exercise goal of having as many moving parts as possible. But like I said, at that goal, the show is doing a great fucking job. And when I say that, I'm not saying that sarcastically, like, oh, you're doing a great job being confusing. Like, I think that, like, it's easy when you're doing something like this for me as a viewer to analyze and nitpick and find the spots where you've made mistakes. But this feels pretty tight so far. Like, they're doing a good job of juggling all these moving parts and having them slowly converge. It remains to be seen how it's going to end, and that really, at the end of the day, that's the determining factor. Like, are they going to pull this off to where at the end of it, I'm not going to have any more questions and I'm going to feel like everything makes sense? If that's a yes, then you won. If that's a no, then you fucked it. You fucked it completely. Like I get like all 5 previous episodes, but when you have something like this where like the focus is how confusing it is, if you don't pull that shit together at the end, then fuck the whole thing. Like, throw it in the trash. So I guess we'll see what happens. But I don't really see this show cracking my top 10 or anything like that. We've only got 2 episodes left, and I don't see anything happening that's going to make me think this is one of the better shows of the year. But having said that, let's get into what actually did happen and try to make sense of all these details, because I want to break this episode down. I want to break it down kind of like by character grouping, because I think it'll be easier to organize and understand that way. And I think we're just gonna work through this, and we're gonna try to, as a group, collectively make sense of what the fuck's going on here. So I'm gonna start with breaking down the. Well, I don't say breaking down. I'm not doing nothing that deep. We're gonna just start with talking about the Brown plot line. So when I say the Brown plot line, I'm talking about Sam. That's Claire Danes. Derek. That's Timothy Oliphant, and Jared, their son. So I'm gonna have that. I'm going to have the Guyanese plotline and a little bit of stuff about Melody as well. But I want to start with Melody, actually, because this is going to be the shortest thing. I absolutely cannot stand her fucking character. She is so fucking obnoxious. And I'm sure that's intentional. And shout out Zazie Beetz, man. She's doing a great job of it. And she is so fucking pretty and so fucking likable. It's really impressive how much I hate this fucking character, man. Like, she's so intrusive and she's so smug about it, but at the same time, she has her sweet Zazie Beetz kind of nature. Like, I feel like it's like the part of her true personality. Like, she has like a sweet sounding voice. It's not a grating voice. It's like a very relaxing kind of voice. She has that inflection that it's very kind of like chipper almost, but it's like, she'll say things in this nice tone with this sweet voice and this chipper attitude, but it doesn't come off nice. It comes off very condescending and very like, I know I'm making you uncomfortable and I don't give a fuck. Matter of fact, I'm enjoying it. Like, that's how it comes off, and like, I would kick her the fuck out of, like, she would have to arrest me if she wanted to get information out of me, because it's like, there's a scene where like, Claire Day's character arrives at her apartment and Zazzy's outside. I'd just turn the fuck around. I'm like, nope, we're not doing this. I don't have the patience for you. Send me a fucking voicemail or something like that. Send me an email. But she's doing a great job of conveying this feeling because it's working. She would have to arrest me, like I said, if she wanted to talk to me more than fucking like 10 seconds. But we do learn some interesting stuff about Melody, aside from the fact that her name is Melody Harmony and not Melanie Harmony. We learned that her ex that she broke up with in the first 2 episodes, that one lady used to be a witness for her, which shows how little of a fuck Melody gives about boundaries and what is important and what, not important, appropriate and what isn't. So like on top of being obnoxious, she's actually also pretty gross and toxic as well. And I just think that's an interesting role for her to play because it's a very negative description of her as a person. But then outwardly, she's still doing this kind of like, I don't know. It's hard to not like her. If I'm just being honest, it's hard to not like her, but I really don't like her on here. But we also learn how intuitive she is, which is always funny to me when it happens in this show because they play it like, so the show presents her as intuitive, like, oh, this character is so smart that she can read people and she can know what they're feeling and what they're going to say before they even fucking say it. And that's why she's so good, because she's so intuitive and she just knows people. But what's really happening is we're just having a character audibly explain to us all the shit that the show should be putting on the fucking screen. And I'm not mad. But like the best example of this is in episode 4, when she goes to question Jeff's brother Gene, who is played by my man from, he was in A Green Mile briefly, but he was in Shawshank is one of the inmates. But dude barely speaks, and she just kind of like speaks his thoughts. Oh, so you did this. So this is what happened. And it's like, it's a still unclear description of what's going on with this Guyanese condo situation. And I can't tell if the show thinks that it's telling me enough or if I'm still supposed to be kind of in the dark. But yeah, like, I see right through this strategy and I don't like it, especially since what happened with the Guyanese condo situation was heavily talked about, and I still feel like I don't quite get it. But like that whole scene where she's like, oh, so what happened is, oh, you did this because it's just her explaining the shit that the show didn't tell us. And like I see what you're doing there, and I don't hate it or anything like that. I don't like it, but I don't hate it. I just don't like feeling like you're not gonna trick me with that. I see what's happening here. She's not an intuitive character. You're just lazy. But I'm kidding. So where am I? So I want to talk about the Guyanese condo situation because I feel like that's the thing that we're all kind of hung up on. I feel like there's no way anyone could be perfectly fucking clear on this. But again, I also think that there's still information to be divulged as well. So I'm just gonna tell you guys what I think's going on, and we can collaborate in the comments to see what's going on. But as I understand it, Jeff, Dennis Quaid's character, and his brother, Gene, they were going to scoop up this Guyanese condo. You guys heard the name of it. Elk and Debo. Well, I don't know what the fuck it was called. And there were some bribes involved. And I think that Gene thinks that his brother, Jeff, snitched on him because he's like, after I got caught up, Jeff went on to be hot shit. But I think that what we are meant to believe, the audience, is that it was actually Sam who snitched on her uncle in order to protect her father, which is what her and Jim Gaffigan's character are constantly kind of alluding to when they talk, when he's just like, yeah, that shit between us, that, like, I covered for you, and, like, basically, like, I covered for you in the sense of, like, I didn't let it be known that it was you who snitched. Like, that's what I think we're supposed to glean from this, is that somehow Sam was involved in Gene getting caught up in whatever was going on with this Guyanese condo situation, and then Gene lost everything, and then Jeff becomes Chef Jeff. And I think we're also to understand that Gene shot himself in the foot, and that Jeff became Chef Jeff, not really due in part to his own work, but mostly to Sam's effort. And like, they don't say that directly, but like, it's something that I think we're just meant to pick up on over the course of these episodes. Like, there's a moment where Gene says something to the effect of, like, why do you think Jeff is always running around telling everybody he's a good person? And Sam says something like, well, he works very hard. And I think that was interesting because the show, I think, has gone to great effort to show us that he, in fact, does not work very hard. Like, he just, like, childishly doesn't start meetings because he can't handle the line of questioning We see Sam handling all of his affairs, and when tough questions come up, like where he got the money to start his chef business, we hear he just defaults to giving Sam that question. She lies about it because later in the episode or in the second episode, I don't know where that conversation happened, but later on we find out that it really had something to do with Gene taking the L for whatever this guy in his condo situation is. But while we're talking about the Brown household, let's move on to Derek. We learned in these 2 episodes that Nick, the kid who Aked and the other kidnappers think is Derek and Sam's son, Jarrett, we learned that he is in fact Derek's illegitimate son with this Charisse woman whose name we heard drop when the kidnappers were on the phone with, it doesn't matter who the fuck I think it was Sam they were technically on the phone with, but they were on the phone with somebody, and he said something like, tell Charisse, and they're like, who the fuck is Charisse? And Derek's like, don't worry about it. Don't even worry about who Charisse is. Forget the name Charisse. And we also learned that Derek is dealing with guilt over feeling like subconsciously he didn't do enough to help save his knockoff son because he was trying to keep him a secret. And that's why he feels all this relief when he finds out that Nick is actually alive. But I really like the scene where the Nick thing comes to light, the Nick thing between Sam and Derek. Like, I continue to find Claire Danes a highly underrated and undervalued actor. As respected as she is, she's always impressive as fuck, and I love her in this scene saying that, like Derek's like, technically this happened during a break, and then she's like, technically that was a week where we postponed our engagement, not our relationship, you fuck. And I'm like, okay, that hits. And then he's like, trying to make himself sympathetic, and she's like, no, motherfucker, I'm not gonna apologize to you because it was hard for you to lie to me for 16 years. I'm like, okay, very, very, very valid points, Claire Danes. And we also learned that Nick has a dissociative personality disorder and is obsessed with his father, Derek. So he's been stealing all of Jared's stuff because he probably believes that he should be Jared. He says outright, he believes he should be living in that house, and Derek is his father, but he very much wants to be a part of that family. And they lay out the fact that he's not all the way there mentally. So now I kind of like rewind, because you remember I was saying at the end of my video for episodes 1 and 2, I'm like, what is Derek's affiliation with this? And I still feel like Derek may have been involved in some way, because like the way he was looking, it's like he almost knew that Nick was going to be there. But now my big question after 1 and 2 was, what would have happened if Aked had not came and they had taken what was actually Nick? Like, what was Nick's plan? I thought Nick was up to some nefarious shit, and then just come to find out, he's just Derek's illegitimate son who wants to be part of this family. And it's not anything crazy at all. But lastly, let's talk about the Mahabir family and the Guyanese. I call them kids, but I mean, they might be teenagers. I don't know. But I want to start by saying the CCH Pounders Mahabir character and her insistence on how all of their problems revolve around this circle and this curse borders on silly at times. Like, at the end of episode 4, after everything has happened, she's like, it's because Natalia fucked up the circle. And I'm just like, I was like, well, now you look stupid. Like, it's like there's a whole lot of shit going on. And I think Garmin says something like that. Like, he doesn't say that's stupid, but he says something. He says the smart version, like the classy version of that. Like, it ain't got shit to do with the circle. It's about all the stupid fucking decisions you made. He said something to that effect. But I already talked about the condo situation, though, so let's add on to that. We also learned that Garmin is 88 grand in the hole with the casino, and we also learned that Garmin's wife is the boss of him. I'm not trying to roast him because my wife is the boss of me. But Garmin, I'm not the right-hand man to some fucking mob shit either. So I'm just a regular motherfucker from Detroit. My wife can be the boss of me. He's connected, man. But I don't know. I just thought it was funny how his wife was constantly making a bitch out of him throughout the whole 2 episodes. I thought that was great. So Natalia, she tries to make a deal with Edward Chung. Now, Edward Chung, who we meet for the first time in these 2 episodes, is the guy that Mahabir wants to get back because he killed her brother-in-law. And well, I'll get to this in a minute because I have it in my thoughts. But in an effort to squash the beef with Mahabir, Chung offers her half the money he took from her brother-in-law, and he offers her Natalia. Natalia's friend puts her up on game, so Natalia ends up escaping. But now the Mahabir crime syndicate is looking for her and Louis as the suspected moles when we know it's actually they call him Javier, I believe like a J sound, but in the captions it's spelled like Xavier with an X. But we also learned that Aked is a lot smarter than he seems. He figured out that Louis and Natalia swapped out the bodies, and he learned that Jarrett/Nick was never buried. Then he tracks down Natalia by logging into her Postmates account, which I thought was a great idea, and I find that completely plausible too, because I believe that he'd either be able to guess her password, or maybe he's already logged into the same account, like they're both logged into one account, or maybe it's his account and she's logged into it on her phone or whatever. And so whenever she makes Postmates, she's not thinking like, oh, I'm on Aked's account. So either way, it's very fucking plausible that he would do that. And that was a great idea. I'm like, man, he really nailed it. And as soon as he pulled it up, I was like, oh, she ordered food for old boy. So like, really great move. But he pulls up right after they've left to go meet with Chung, but still he was on the right track. He was doing the right thing. So the episode ends with, oh shit, well, how did the episode end? Oh yeah, with Javier being discovered, and they followed his girlfriend to the hotel that Harmony put him in, and they see his ankle bracelet. It's obvious that he's the mole, the snitch, whatever, and it ends with him being asked to be taken to Garmin. So, like I said, I feel like the episodes are good. It's just something where it's like I'm less interested in all of the bells and whistles and the trickery and the confusion and all juggling all these moving parts. I'm less interested in that, and that seems to be damn near the fucking focus of the show. And I'm more interested in the things that the show seems less interested in, which is like Derek and Sam and all that kind of stuff. But I'll close out with a couple of thoughts. At one point, Harmony asks Sam how a remodel impacted their marriage. And that's already a strange question. And then like Sam is like, the fuck? Which, why would she not? It's a strange question. And then Harvey is like, 12% of remodels end in divorce. And I just thought there's no earthly fucking way you just have that stat on deck just to throw that out whenever it comes up in conversation. There's no fucking way. You just don't like, it's motherfuckers on Jeopardy that don't just pull out fucking clues like that. Like, yeah, 12% of, what is 12% of remodels ending in divorce? Like, no fucking way, dog. Like, that really, like, it didn't irritate me because I thought it was so stupid, but I was like, who, like, just has that to just bring out off the top of their head? But, another thing she did that I didn't like was acting like people's justifiable and normal reactions were cause for suspicion. Like, that really, that is why when I said I couldn't talk to her for more than 10 seconds before I have to kick her the fuck out or she'd have to arrest me, that's why. That part, that's what really bugs me. Like, it works on the show because the people she's talking about are being shady. But on its face, it's like bullshit. Like, when she asked Derek if the kidnappers had a Guyanese accent, and Sam reacted to that, and Harmony is like, aha, you reacted to that? Well, does that mean something to you? Like, no, bitch, that's a fucking weird thing to say. Like, who the fuck chooses, like, was it a Guyanese accent as your random fucking example? Like, no, that is very fucking specific. Why did you say that? Like, why would it be a Guyanese accent? But, like, she acted like Sam reacting was, like, a clue. And it's like, okay, yes, Sam is being shady, so it works, and she is involved in the Guyana shit. But if this was any other situation, even if we didn't know, that's a very justifiable reaction to that being your random example. Like, was it a Guyanese accent? Like, I would immediately be like, the fuck? Like, well, that's specific. Like, I don't know. I would think, was it a European accent? Was it, something a little bit more broad, like Guyanese? Like, okay. But then, like, that's not a reason to be suspicious of somebody because they reacted to that. And then she does the same thing when Jim Gaffigan's character asks her why she's asking him about Jeff and Gene. And she's like, why do you keep saying why? Bitch, I was walking by your office and you just started harassing me about Gene McCusker out of fucking nowhere. Like, of course I'm gonna ask why. The fuck? Like, that doesn't make me suspicious. Like, can you imagine you just walk by somebody's office like, hey, let me just hammer you with questions about Gene McCusker. Like, the fuck, dog? I was going to take a shit. Like, what are we doing? And, like, I just don't think that that's a valid reason to be suspicious of people. But it happened. It's like they're trying to make her look intuitive because those people are actually doing the things that she's not accusing them of, but well, she does accuse them of. But they're actually doing those things. So it's like an attempt to make her reactions look less ridiculous, but her reactions are fucking ridiculous. There's no way that any of those things are cause for suspicion. I did like how Natalia made Nick go in the bathroom of a hotel room in order to get some privacy. Like, does she think that hotel rooms are soundproof? Like, I don't know, hotel bathrooms, I'm sorry, are soundproof? Like, she's like, go in the bathroom. And he's put his ear up against the door like any other fucking person would. That Ron guy from the casino that told the Mahabirs about Jeff's credit limit, that was a funny character. I don't know why. I just thought that guy was funny. I'm still waiting to find out how killing Jared would have settled Mahabir's beef with Edward Chung. I still need that connection. What do they have? We have yet to connect Edward Chung to anything going on aside from his actions being the motivating factor behind Mahabir's. But how is Edward Chung connected to McCusker? That's the thing. The only thing I can think of, and connected, and not just they did business together, but connected in a way where somehow killing Jared would have offset the killing of Mahabir's brother-in-law. That's what I'm trying to figure out. And then lastly, it seems like Jim Gaffigan's character sent Harmony's psych eval off, finally. I guess that she's getting too close to being on to him. I hope, just for the sake of authenticity, that someone asked him why he took so long to do that. I know that's a small thing, but like I really feel like, because he's mentioned constantly that he didn't do it. So if he sent it, I need the recipient to be like, what the fuck, dog? Like how long has it been? Like, no, this is just like 5 years ago. Why are you sending me her fucking psych eval and it's like fucking expired? But that's all I got, guys. That's all I got for episodes 3 or 4. I hope I was able to help you guys get some understanding out of it. Let me know what you thought in the comments. I will see you guys next week for episodes 5 and 6, which I believe are the final 2. And until then, peace.